What does it take going from 7 to 8 figures?
So the quicker you invest back in growth again, the sooner you get to the next stage. People are going to criticize you. People are going to hate you. Who cares? We don't call them haters. We call them confused admirers. They want to be where we are. Yeah. You got to understand before you even open a business, I'm going to lose money here. If you're not prepared to have that conversation with yourself, don't do it.
What's the secret to managing over 200 employees?
If you hire someone who's a sponge, motivated to do well, managing them becomes a lot easier because they're big picture people. The thing that you need to realize, and entrepreneurs sometimes make this mistake, is
welcome to Founders Playbook Podcast, the ultimate guide for entrepreneurs to build their empires, increase profits, and become great leaders. I'm your host, Nelson, founder and CEO of Vibes Creative, Australia's leading video podcast agency. Let's get down to business. Welcome back to another episode. Today's legendary guest is the group CEO at Ray White AKG, which are the fastest growing Ray White offices in Brisbane. His ecosystem of companies now employs more than 200 people across 3 different states in Australia and 3 countries. His passion now is developing the best agents and companies. Please welcome the legendary Avi Khan. How are you, legend?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the great intro.
Let's just dive into it.
Let's go.
How many businesses do you currently have and what are they?
Oh, so it's hard to define how many. So our main business is our real estate operations. So it's the overarching brand is called Ray White AKG, in that we have another 4 offices underneath it. That's all based towards Brisbane South, and we've got one of the largest property management companies in Brisbane as well. So the real estate operation is about 6 offices, 6 businesses. And then we also own a law firm in Sydney. We own a tattoo shop in Brisbane as well, which is very random, but it all fits in. And we've also got an operations in the Philippines. So we have 68 VAs operational there, looking after, from real estate to all other industries, helping other agencies in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth as well.
Obviously, someone might be listening to this and just be like, how the hell do you even get to this level of owning many different companies and in different industries, different verticals as well? So how did you exactly got started?
So I started my career as a lawyer. I worked for the Department of Infrastructure and Planning in Queensland. They change their names every 6 months. You know how government departments are. So that's where I started, and I was passionate about the law back then. And I just came across a project that has a lot of sort of like IT, business advisory, consulting work. And then from there, I joined other companies and I was consulting throughout Australia. I got a bit bored living on suitcase life. It's great at the start because you have money to spend. You get $60 a day. Back then, it's a lot of money for dinners, drinks, and everything else. But after a while, you get tired of the plain existence. Like airports are so much fun at the start, but then no one wants to fly after a couple of years. It's so boring and takes up so much time. So I had some time in between contracts, and I was like, you know what? Real estate looks so easy, right? Like you see people with nice cars, nice suits, they're all drinking coffee, and then I don't know how they work, right? So I'm like, this looks easy. Let's give it a go. So that was probably about 10 years ago. And I just randomly called one of the principals who was looking, and I said, like, hey, can I get a job? And she said to me, what do you know about my area? I said, I didn't know what area it was, to be honest. And I was like, oh, it's a great area. I was on Google. I'm like, it's got a baby bunting. I've just had a baby. I go there every time. It's got units, acreages. It's the middle of everywhere. She loved it. And she gave me a job that day. And that's how I started in real estate. I just wanted to have a go at something different. I was a bit bored. I loved what I did, but I just needed another challenge. So real estate's been my second career.
I love that because it resonates so much with my own experience, which is I started as a dentist. So I'm a fully qualified dentist back home.
So we'll have another chat after this.
We will. We will. But yeah, that was 8 years ago. So it feels almost like a past life.
Yeah.
And then obviously transition slowly into what we do now, which is a video podcast agency, essentially. But yeah, it resonates so much how you somehow land into one of these really well-known careers, like it could be being a lawyer or a dentist, and then eventually you find out this is not where I should be. This is something that's not fitting. And I'm curious to hear you obviously mentioned that you kind of got bored, but what exactly was that specific moment where you realized, this is not what I should be doing? Was there anything specific that happened that pushed you to just start looking for a different opportunity?
Yeah, see, some of my career choices, really odd, right? Some of my career choices or the new business ideas, I've come up while I was flying. Like, it's weird because it's like you're in a vacuum, right? Like, back in the day, like 10 years ago, you didn't have internet. Like, you had to pay for movies and all you can watch was Sky News, and who wants to watch that on the plane? So it gives you time to think, right? And some people have their shower moments.
Yep.
You know, they think in the shower, have these, airplane moments at that time. And I was flying back from, I think I was in Melbourne for a 3-day contract. I was flying back and I was so tired. It was like 8 o'clock on Friday. We were landing in Brisbane Airport, which is the worst airport to land in on Friday nights because you're circling. And I was just like, this is so, can I swear on this podcast? I'm like,
Yeah,
this is so
of
effed,
course.
right?
Yeah.
This is so effed. Like, I'm so tired. I'm so bored. Like, I'm just flying around. You don't get paid for flying, by the way. You get paid for your contract work. So I'm like, something's got to give, I had a family and I was like, I miss seeing my child. Like, I'm away all the time. So I'm like, what's better out there? And then, the interesting thing about like your dentistry career, my legal consulting career, is like you meet so many people, right? We're kind of in the roles that you're meeting 10 new people a day. And then you get excited by their journey, someone else's experience, someone else's life. So I was meeting all these real estate agents when I'm out and about. I'm meeting all these people who are investing in property. And I had a couple of investments back then as well. I'm like, you know what? This could be something that might be where I want to be in life. It might be something I want to have a go at. Because, we sort of look at different careers and like, oh, this is hard. Oh, how have they done this? When you look at real estate, you're like, oh, this guy seems normal. This girl seems normal. Like, how have they done it? Like, there's in the real estate industry, I always say there's nothing special about anyone. It's just how hard they work to get there. So I'm like, maybe I can do this as well. So that was why in the airplane, I was like, I need something different, or maybe it's real estate. I don't know. Like, let's give it a go, And that's where some of my business ideas have come from as well while I was flying. So the law firm that I did with my partners, I was actually flying back from another role. And then I realized, like people are complicating the legal conveyancing side so much. Like all we need is solicitors to get out of the way sometimes. And they're always in the way. So my analogy is like a good solicitor is like an NRL referee or a football referee. At the end of the game, if you don't remember the referee, it's been a really good game. No one wants to remember the solicitor at the end of the transaction. They want to remember the agent or the house, the experience, So the solicitors always kept getting in the way. So I'm like, how do we get them out of the way? How do we have a firm where we help people, but we're not like, hey, look at us, we're the superstars. So can we have a remarkable experience that's not memorable because of the solicitor, but for the experience? So that's how I got into real estate in a roundabout way. I just had that moment where I was just bored. Yeah.
When it comes to it, because obviously your company's portfolio is around Ray White. How did that came about?
So I started my career as an Alger hooker agent. I always joke that I'm an ex-hooker. Sometimes the joke goes down well, sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of ex-hookers out there, real estate-wise. But I started an Alger hooker. The company I started with, bless them, they're not around anymore. But it was a very career-defining sort of role because I worked in the office where they had, I think, 10 business partners. Now, imagine going into an office with 10 business partners. They are preferred for everything, right? Any leads come through, anything else. So you had to graft harder. You had to work harder. You had to have a thicker skin. So I worked my ass off. I was literally working till 2 a.m. in the morning because I had to beat those 10 partners. Like, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to sell more than them. I'm going to make more money more than them. I'm going to take care of my clients better. So I had this inner drive, and that was the best thing that could have happened to me because most of those 10 partners were kind of like on their way out. They had a really good career. They're really nice people, don't get me wrong, but it was just they were in the penultimate stage of their career where they've been to the top and I was just rising. And my determination was beat them. Once I beat them, an opportunity with Ray White came along, so I took that. So it was like, where do I go from here? Now I've beaten them. What's the next step for me? I'm very competitive. In a competitive nature comes out.
That's exactly what I was going to. How important is to be competitive and to have hunger in order to bring all these goals that you have into fruition.
So I always say to my staff, we can teach them real estate, right? But it's so hard to teach motivation. We can guide them, we can get them speakers, we can pump them up, but it's motivation has to be your inner belief, your inner self. But your competition drive can be from the people around you. So I've always been competitive, but when you put me in an environment where I need to be more competitive, I will thrive. So I don't like to be like with people that are like, cruisy going on. I need that, that spirit of competition inside somewhere. So that's what it gave me. And then that's defined my real estate career from there, because that competition drive has not left me at all. And now I'm just like competing in a different way. But it's so crucial to be around people who want to strive to be the top, or crucial to be around people who are already at the top. So pick one or the other of your career choices. Don't go in an office or place or business, whichever industry you're in, where they've done their dash, they're very happy, they're very good people, but they're not willing to drive harder to get further because they've already been through that phase. So it's important to choose where you land.
Absolutely. I've found that, and that starts as well, even from your friendship group and the people that you hang out with, that is that a circle where everyone is pushing each other to new levels and expanding what you believe to be possible. And same thing with mentors and potentially business partners and just your own market, the competition. How can you compare yourself? And this is one of the things that I've come to realize, that people tend to, they've been told that comparison is a bad thing. And I actually see it a complete opposite way, where comparison is a really good thing, but you need to compare yourself to the right people, and should be people that are way ahead of you. That's the kind of people that I'm comparing to. I don't compare to the people that are at the same level or people that are below in some way. I compare it to the people that are way further from me. What are they doing that I'm not doing? What could I implement? What kind of inspiration I can take? I've always been the kind of person where I saw people, driving nice cars or having all these companies or having a really nice watch. I'm like, how did they do that? How can I do that too? What's different here? Instead of being envious or just judging the competition, is getting that inspiration, that fuel of, that's possible. If they did it, I can do it too. So I love that kind of competitive mindset that you have, because I've found to be that is crucial in order for you to dominate and just to be able to accomplish your goals and dreams. Now, when you started in real estate, can you speak about the beginning of the journey? Because from what I've heard, it wasn't as easy as maybe some people might think.
It's not easy at all. We go in thinking it's easy, and sometimes like it's our inner human nature, right? Like we always back ourselves, whatever we do, whether it's real estate, dentistry, or anything else. Like you think I can do this. This is fine. But when you get in there, you find out there's so much rejection. People telling you to go away. People telling you to go back to your own country. People telling you, I'm going to set the dogs on you, like you get so much rejection, and it's hard to take, because I came back from a career that I think I was on top of my game, that I'm not used to being rejected as I am in real estate, right? So it's a lot of cold prospecting, which means that you're calling people you don't know, and they don't want to hear from you. How do you get my number? Why are you calling me? Dude, it's 7:00 at night. Why are you calling me at midday? I'm at work. Like, it's so much rejection. You literally have to talk to about 40 or 50 people a day that you've never spoken to before. And it might sound easy, but it's very difficult at the same time, because imagine you're calling 30 people, they're all telling you to F off. How do you go to the 31st call? It's a mental, it's like the fatigue sets in, like you get a bit depressed in your own voice because everyone's telling you no. And then when you started a real estate agency, well, back then they just say, here's the numbers, call. Like the guidance sometimes lacks, and then as a young person starting off your career, like, what am I doing here? So I remember like my 6th, 7th, 8th month of real estate, I didn't list a single property. And I was questioning, what is this for me? What's happening? I had a daughter, and I was on like 44K a year. Half your money goes on petrol, printing flyers, having lunch, So it's bleak and dark moments sometimes, but it's just, you need to have the strength to keep going and tell yourself, I'm doing everything I can. And it's one of those industries, maybe like finance or, Any industry that's sales background, it takes a while for things to click. So I was meeting 20 new people a week face to face. And so when you do the maths, you're literally meeting like over 1,000 people a year, new people. So if you keep going in that slant, things will work out for you. But I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, what the hell am I doing here? I was lucky enough, I was selling everyone else's properties, but I had none of mine. So yeah, dark moments. You look at your credit card bill, you look at your finances. How do I pay the mortgage? How the bills are going to be paid? So it's hard moments, you just have to keep going, and you tell yourself that if you believe in yourself that you're doing the right things, things will happen. So we look at the industry from afar, saying, "Oh my God, these guys are making so much money. It's so easy," but no one sees what goes behind. Have you seen that iceberg when it says success? I think everyone's seen the meme. It's real estate's a bit like that because you don't see behind the scenes of what we actually do day to day. Yes, you get paid really well, but on the other side, the hard work to get to that level, to show the marketplace who you are, what you're doing, how you sell properties, what you stand for. It's a hard journey. It's a hard road, especially in the first 12 months.
You're absolutely right. It is just so difficult. And I think almost every entrepreneur and business owner has to go through that specific journey at the beginning where things are just not clicking. It's almost a timing and practice thing, as well as lacking some of the feedback that you need in order to know exactly what needs to change in order to get the result that you're after. And the lag period between starting and actually validating what you're doing can be anywhere between 3, 6, 12 months, and sometimes even longer than that. So just really trying to keep yourself in the game and continue to believe in what you're doing, and not listening as well to some of the feedback that you might be getting, because it might be coming from the wrong sources. That's one thing that I realized looking back into my journey when I was explaining to people, I'm not going to be a dentist, I'm going to make videos. That was crazy back then when I said that 8 years ago, and everyone was telling me that's stupid, you shouldn't do that, stick to what you know, stick to the safe thing. Dentistry is gonna make you a lot of money. This video thing, is a silly idea. And just having to push through all of that with zero proof that you could actually pull this thing off was the hardest thing, until you get the first dollar in, the first inquiry about, hey, how much would you charge for this? It's like, what? People are going to pay me for this thing that I love so much. So I'm curious to hear as well, from when you were at your prime doing cold calling, what were the numbers that you realized, okay, I need to call X amount of people in order to get X amount of property listings or sales?
So my maths was very simple in my own head. I needed to call 30 people every day. I need to do 30 door knocks, and I had to have at least 40 flyers go out. So that would take me 30 calls would take me about 4 hours, depending on some old people that you call and they haven't spoken to anyone. That will be a half an hour call. Someone else will be a 2-minute call, but at least you need to speak to 30 new people a day. That was my goal. And as I got more listings, as I was selling more, it became easier because you have more stock where people call you as well. But at the start, it's like, can I speak to 30 people a day? And I didn't leave the office till I did. So it was very strategic, very structured. And I think agents don't do that as much anymore because they get tired and they get bored. I'm like, why am I calling them? I'll just post on social media, but it doesn't work unless you've got that, face-to-face profile going on. Because in business, we've had so much technological changes, so much social media changes and everything else, but the fundamentals of business has not changed. It's all about being face-to-face, all about being I call it belly to belly. I had to change my language a bit because we're in 2024. It's all about being face-to-face with people, right? So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to say, okay, can I come meet you? The market's changed. We've just sold something around the corner. It's been a street record. It's been a suburb record. Based on this, it's changed prices of the homes in your street. Can I come and tell you what your house is worth? So it's always trying to give back something. And most agents do it, but they get tired. So one of the things that I did when I opened the phone book, everyone starts calling when they start from A, surname A. I start calling from M and N and L and P. And these people never had any calls because everyone just gives up after 3 months, right? That's the beauty of real estate in a way. So many people quit. So if you stick it out, you're going to get somewhere. So my principal's telling me, hey, why are you calling these people? Like, you need to start here. I'm like, nah, I'm going to start here. She's like, why? I'm like, because everyone's called it A to L. You know, that's what they do. Then they give up. So I'm calling people no one's ever called. And that was like cool for me because then people wanted to chat. Because otherwise everyone else was annoyed. Like, I've just got a call today. I've just got a call last week, you know. So yeah, just making contact was the best thing I did.
That's one of the small nuances that can make a heap of a difference in your results, and you can only realize as well by doing, right? You started calling all these first names starting by A, and at some point it clicked for you like, wait, why am I starting here just like everyone else
Just
when
like
I could
everyone
just
else.
start a little bit lower?
Yeah.
And suddenly that completely transformed the results. In your specific industry as well, there is a lag between actually making a sale and getting your commission and all these things, right? Because we're talking about a property. How long did it normally take from you getting actually someone willing to sell and then actually making the sale and seeing your commission?
Yeah, so the lag, it's even longer in real estate when you think about it, because your first person that you speak to is like, hey, I'm thinking about selling. So that's where the conversation starts. So thinking about selling could be 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, or 6 to 12 months. And some people now 12 to 18 months. So the first lag is just nurturing your client and telling them what's happening in the marketplace, what you stand for and everything. So I call you, say, look, I'm willing to sell. I need 3 months. So that's the first journey. Then you go list the property in 3 months. And then it takes from there about 30 to 60 days to actually transact. So the journey from one client, from when you first meet them or when they indicate they're willing to sell, could be from 3 months to all the way to 12 months. So you have to play a long-term game. You have to know how to talk to people, nurture them, help them along the way, because it's not instantaneous. So when you want instant success, real estate's not for you. And so, like other industries as well, like cars are the same now. The journey to buy a car is 3 to 5 months nowadays. I didn't even know that. Someone was telling me the other day. I thought, you know, the old days where people just show up to a showroom, they call it. I want this car and they drive away. Like, that's gone. Yeah. It's like a 3 to 6 months wait. And then you order a car, if you're ordering a new car, sometimes it takes 6 months to arrive. So it could be a year process as well. So real estate's very much like that as well. It's really like when you meet them and they're willing to sell, you could be paid like 8, 9 months later. And not many people have that patience anymore.
How long did it take you to make your first million?
First mill, probably 3 years, three to 4 years. Yeah, it took a while. First year was hard. It was probably about 120, 130K. And people judge me for saying it's hard. But it's a lot of cost as well. Like half your cost goes on your marketing and your petrol and everything else. And then it gradually goes up. Like there's not many people in the industry that are instant successes. I have a friend, and we always say she's an instant success. Only took her 8 years to get there. So it takes a while. You have to have patience, but as long as you're doing the right things, it will come. You know, but you know, now we look at more than just income. We look at the asset value as well. We look at what we're doing for the future, where the growth is going. So different. The momentum shifts in a different way. The questions we ask ourselves shifts in a different way after a while.
So it took you around 3 years to make your first million. How long did it take you to make the next one?
Probably the next year. It's heavy. There's a book by Jim Collins. It's called Good to Great. So the thing that stood out from that book was the flywheel effect. The more you do, the stronger the flywheel effect becomes. The more momentum you create, the more money you make, the more people you can grow, the more you can think about the future. So it's just, once you get momentum, you just got to feed the momentum. And some people get the momentum, like, oh, I'm doing well. But I'm always like, what's the next big thing? What am I going to grow? What am I going to add to, you know? So if you haven't read Jim Collins, that's a good book to read.
Momentum, I always tell my team, is one of the most powerful energies that you can create to bring the results that you want closer and faster. And there is almost a formula as well to create momentum. When you start understanding these things, when you need it, you know what are the different activities that you can put into action to generate that momentum and then let it carry over, but obviously continuing to make sure that you're feeding it so it doesn't stop. So I love that you say that. In terms of employees, what's the secret to managing over 200 employees?
I think going back to there's the main thing that it's how you hire people as well. So we hire people based on, are they going to be a sponge? That's what my main criteria is. Are they willing to come in and learn our ways and like bring their ways as well? It's, you can't leave that to the side. But the first thing we look at, can we employ them and they're going to be coming in here with the thirst for knowledge? How do you guys do this? What's working for you? What can I change my business? You know, and then I look at the motivation levels as well. So nowadays, if someone calls me for a job, I just like, yeah, cool, we'll let you know, and then I wait for them to call back. So as you become bigger, you do more. You can have more choices about who you employ in the business. So if you hire someone who's a sponge and who's motivated to do well, managing them becomes a lot easier because they are there to not worry about the little things in life or the little problems that they have. They big picture people. They want to say, where are we going? What are we going to do? How are we going to grow? So if you hire the right way, it grows. The second thing is that you have to build a core leadership team around you. So, you know, when we're talking about you are who you surround yourself with. So I've surrounded myself with some great leaders and some we've built up. So I have a great leadership team across the board from a law firm who, you know, my business partner runs that, to the Philippines, my business partner runs that. So I've got great people around me. So one of the things that we've said in real estate, the way the industry has gone is like one principal per office sort of thing, one owner per office in different industries. We went around that and we said we're going to have specialists everywhere. So there's a head of growth, there's a head of property management, there's a head of the law firm, there's a head of media, there's a head of marketing, there's a head of offshore services. So that's how we've grown and managed our employees, because if they're dealing with specialists, they have more respect for them. But if I run a law firm or if I run a media company, I won't get that same respect. So we have people that have, you know, the expertise around it to run it. And I'm just helping them grow and helping them with the business acumen and things like that. So that's how we manage our employees. And we're trying to, there's a new term called entrepreneur, not entrepreneur. Like it's more like a business within a business model for us. So you're running your own business inside our business. So you got to make decisions when you're going to hire staff, when you're going to fire staff, how you're going to develop your own staff underneath you. What's your mentorship look like? Are you guiding them? Are you giving them the same things that you want? Because all the staff have the same goals and aspirations. That's why I tell my leaders, like, you've got a nice house, you go on holidays, you know, you're taking a Monday off, you're going away for Valentine's Day, you're buying your partner something. They all have their same goals and aspirations. How can you lead them and guide them? Just don't think it's about you, it's about them as well. We want to grow them. So, for example, one of my business partners, she started a reception 6 years ago, and now she owns 25% of one of my property management companies. So what are we doing for these, for our staff members? You know, like, it can't just be about you. So you got to share in the growth. If they are growing, you're growing as well. If they're not growing, you're not growing. So first thing, we got to look after their growth, and our growth takes care of itself. So I think that one of the things that we've done well, and we've learned from our mentors and our study tours, is there a deep leadership bench underneath us? If there's no leadership bench, you're not growing. So it can't just come from me because I'm not skilled enough. I openly admit it. I'm not skilled in everything. I don't have the time to do everything. And, you know, I won't win respect from my employees if I'm guiding them something which I have no expertise in. So that's, in a roundabout way, how we're trying to manage our employees.
I'm very curious to ask, what made your receptionist so valuable that you made it a company shareholder?
She was what we call the definition of being a sponge. So that's what I really liked and enjoyed. She was so willing to learn everything about property management, everything about leadership. She was so willing to manage people, so willing to learn their stories. Oftentimes at work or life, the blockage is not work. Blockage is what happens outside work. She was very good at that, helping people, guide people, growing them. And she had the inquisitiveness of, what can I do better? You know, so she went from receptionist to the trajectory of property manager as receptionist to sort of leasing, like renting out properties, then to assistant property manager, and to property manager, and team leader, then the CEO. So she was graduating from one role to other every 6 months. So I like the fact that when people come into our business, they're willing to learn, willing to grow, and not just from our business, from outside people. That's crucial. We always have a saying that Ray White's got 15% market share in Australia, right? Give or take. What are the other 85 doing? So Rachel had, who was a partner now, she had that inquisitiveness. What are the people doing that we're not? What can we change? So she was willing to grow and listen. And she's also good at dictating things to me. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can take it, She'll come and open the office. This is what you're doing wrong, Avi. I'm like, okay, cool, go change it. So I love that open advice. We can't grow without open advice. And she was very good at that. So worked out well.
I love that. Shout out to her. It sounds like she crushed it, and she's a good example of if you being a leader within different roles in the company. It doesn't matter where you start, as long as you do the necessary things and you show that you actually care about what the company is trying to accomplish, and you have a good leadership team, that the opportunities are endless. What are you considering when giving company equity or shares to to employees or people that are a part of the company?
I think the main thing that we're looking at now is like, will the others follow you? Have you already shown me you're a leader? So the first thing in leadership is not leading teams, is leading yourself. So we need to see that you're capable of leading yourself. And that's not a shot at anyone or saying that people are not leaders in self, but are you self-motivated? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to listen? Do you get along with people? Like, you don't have to be their best friend, but do you get along with them? Are they able to be guided by you? Do you have that in are you willing to learn to become that? Are you a know-it-all or a learn-it-all? So we always have this saying that I picked up from another agency, is like, we don't want know-it-alls, we want to learn it all. So we look at all those things saying, can you work long-term with us? Are you willing to grow with us? Do you have the same qualities, character requirements that we have for our leaders, like the same ethos that the company has? So we look at those things like, yeah, this could work. The great example that we have is our law firm. Like, we have our head solicitor who's our business partner, but he wants to do conveyancing the same way that we want to do conveyancing, which is just to get out of the way and help the clients rather than get in the way. So we look at all those little things. And, I had a quote from Jeff Bezos the other day. He's like, you can analyze till the cars come home, right? Like, analytics and all this stuff is great, but you got to go with your gut. So the secret to Amazon and all the other great companies, all these leaders have gone with their gut instincts. So yeah, we can look at all these things, but at the same time, what does your gut feeling say to you? Is this a good person? You want to be in partnership with them. You trust them. Are they going to have your back? You're going to have theirs. So the gut feeling is so crucial, and it's kind of underrated nowadays because there's so much emphasis on profitability, whether you have a degree or not, all these other things. So it's all good and well for people, but the gut is so crucial. And some of the great leaders have said that. So we're like, okay, cool. They also think this, so we're on the right track somehow. We're not comparing ourselves to Bezos, but we're saying like, that's what's worked for him. He's trusted his gut along the whole way. People told him Amazon's not going to work, and he made it work, So yeah, the gut feeling is like one of the most crucial things that we use. And we analyze all those little things as well. But, what does your gut say? Is this going to work? Oh, you've got to be 100% in it.
Hey, real quick, if you're a founder, CEO, or business owner looking to build a personal brand, scale your business, and become a great leader, I've been curating all the best lessons, tactics, and strategies that I've learned from 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs and my own business journey into the ultimate playbook to help you accomplish just that. So if you're keen to get them straight into your inbox, sign up for our newsletter in the link down below. Now back to the episode. It's fuck yes or nothing.
Yeah. It's like buying a house. Like, people think that people come into the house, like some people come and look at the PowerPoints, where the PowerPoints and stuff. And I look at them like, okay, cool. You're analyzing all these things. But when you go in, you're like, I love this. That's when I buy a house, right? I go and say, yeah, I love this. That's how you probably buy a car as well, right? Oh my God, this is cool. Sometimes you don't look at the horsepower and all the other stuff. And it's the same thing with business decisions as well. You're like, fuck, I'm in, Like, there's so many decisions that we made on a whim because you're like, it sounds good, let's do it. You might fail later on, who cares? But at least you're in there and you're following your gut. So I equated it to the same thing as buying a house.
What's your employee retention rate having over 200 employees?
Yeah, look, I think it's great, but we always have these moments. So we had a moment probably about 2 years ago where 3 or 4 people left all at once. And when you think of it, it's like at that stage it was 120 people in the company. You're like, oh, it seems like a lot of people. Like, but when you look at it now, like a couple of them have wanted to come back. So when you look at it now, you're like, it's probably great for the culture those things happened, because it also as leaders gives us a chance to go and reflect on things like what happened, hand on heart test. Have I done everything I can? Could we have done better? The answer is always like, yeah, you could have done some things better. But, I think the culture is great. So everyone that comes in has grown. If they stay with us for 12 months, they grow, they do better. So they tend not to leave. But there's always people that were going to go. No one's there for life. But do we give them opportunities? Do we make them better whilst they're with us? If they go, they can openly go. We celebrate them. So some people that have gone on to open businesses, we've given them their databases, we've given them their clients, we've given them the staff that they had without any legal repercussions or everything. So we have a saying in our business, when our best people leave, they leave with flowers, not a lawsuit. So that's what we follow suit. And I think that's why people join us as well, because everyone's watching who's coming into your business, but more people are watching about how they leave your business as well. So we're very conscious of that. So we celebrate them on the way out. I don't want the same experience that I had when I left a business where I got nothing, so I had to start from fresh. So anyone that goes, take it. We don't care. Take your database, take your clients. It's your call. We'll build again. Because we're so confident of our model that when people come in, they do well.
You absolutely nailed it with that. And that's exactly how we look at it, not only with employees, but as well with clients. When things don't go exactly the way you hope they would, we take that as reflection and feedback and just looking at what were the opportunities that were missed into developing a great customer experience or a great employee or team member experience. What was missing? Where did we miss the mark?
Yeah.
And if they chose to leave, what exactly made them leave? How can we make sure that next time this doesn't happen again? So I'm totally on board with what you say. It's always taking that as an opportunity. And many times you actually need that to happen. You need that big client to leave for you to really take it seriously and go and reflect with yourself and the team on what exactly went wrong, how can we make things better, and ultimately it's for the greater good so that it doesn't happen again. And same with team members. How do you attract top tier talent that wants to work with you but also stayed with your company?
Yeah, it's an ongoing evolution of this, right? So we like to think that we recruit really well. We've gone from chasing people. So at the start, the iteration of us has been, when you think about it, when you open a business, it's called bums on seats. You got to get whoever you can. And you got to back yourself as a leader. Say, I'm going to grow them. I'm going to make them big. I'm going to work with them. And then that's when you can attract better people. So you got to have a proven record of taking people who are non-performers or new to the industry, whichever industry you're in, and making them something that they weren't before they joined you. That's when you start attracting people. People start to notice, what's Avi doing there? What's this company doing? What's this agency doing? And that's when you start attracting better people along the way. And then what we've found is that our recruitment is very much like, we'll say, hey, congratulations, you're listed in our area. You've got a great listing. Well done. You beat us to it. We'll get you next time. Something jovial. Like, it also helps them because people want a pat on the back. So that's how we've sort of like approached it. Like, when someone's doing something good in our marketplace, we'll reach out and tell them. We don't care if they're competitors. There's enough for everyone. Some of my best friends are my competitors. Like, it just naturally happens, So we always tell people how well they're doing. We try to help them in the marketplace and the industry. So our media that we've started, anyone can use it, not just our agents. So we're not restrictive on that. So over time, as you start to perform, as your team starts to perform, they will reach out to you, and we have this thing that our team are very easy to access. So when someone reaches to one of my team members, what are you doing? They'll tell them. We're talking off air before. It's It's not the ideas, it's the execution. We feel like our team, which is my leadership team, which my agents, can execute better than anyone else in our marketplace. So we're not afraid of sharing ideas because we can execute quicker and better. Our catch cry in our business is immediacy is our currency. We're very immediate with everything we do. That's why newspapers don't work, right, anymore as much as they used to, because they're not immediate anymore. The news is already on the net. So we're like, how can we be more immediate? So everything we're doing, the ecosystem that we're building around real estate, it's noticeable by our competitors, the industry. So that's why our recruitment has supercharged now. Before at the start, it was like, can we work with people, make them great? Now we're attracting greater people. No disrespect to who we hired at the start, because they're the best people in the industry now. But it evolves over time. Your strategy, your recruitment, the people you start to attract, as you perform better, it evolves.
What makes a great leader?
That's a great question. I often think about this. It's a myriad of things. I think a great leader is someone who's leading from the front, and it doesn't mean that leading from the front is like doing the role that other people are doing. But I was talking to a great man, Brian White. Now he's one of the greatest guys in real estate that's ever seen. So his thing is, do you know what you want? And does your team know what you want? So first is articulating to the team what you actually want. So leading from the front is like, this is where we're going, guys. This is what I want. Can we help execute it? So you'll be surprised how many leaders don't do that. They don't communicate with their team what they actually want. And I've seen that every time. Like, so Brian used to say, if I go to your office or your studio or whatever it is, and I ask your team, hey, Avi's gone for golf for that. One day I've sent him away to golf. I don't really play golf, but that's the story. And you ask them, what does Avi want? If they can't answer it, then you're in trouble. So a great leader is not a friend. It's a colleague, but an advisor. It's someone that you can trust. It's someone that guides you, and it's someone that's proven themselves in the marketplace or the industry of expertise in some way, shape, or form. And the great leader is someone who understands the definition of success for you and for the team. So success for you could be different. Success for you could be being home at 4:00 to spend time with the kids. Success for you could be 6 weeks of holidays every year with your family. Success for you could be being the number one in the marketplace. Success for you could be being the best profitable agent in the marketplace. So I think leaders need to understand the definition of success for every individual, because it's so myriad, so varied. We can't just generalize. I think there's a lot of different factors of what makes a great leader, and it changes every 6 months, every 12 months. Nowadays, like a great leader in real estate is like how many males and females you have. Like that's what this definition is now. Can you be equally good with both females and males? Lead a team that's, diverse. A great leader is someone who doesn't just sell properties, but, helps the property management side of the business, or there's different definitions out there, but it's just like the main thing is like, do you understand your team and what success means to them? I think that's what we're trying to understand now better than what we used to a year ago.
Something that I've come to realize is that in order for you to be a great leader, your dream must be big enough to fit in the dreams of your team. And that relates to what you were saying about success, understanding what does success means like to you and your team individually as well. What does success means to you right now?
It changes every day, right? So my definition of success now is like, I'm in a different stage of my career. Do I have enough time to do everything I want with my family, with my friends? I felt that I sacrificed a lot of that in the first few years. Like, dinners and lunches every day with clients, with, colleagues and everything else, that stuff took me away from my family a bit. So my definition of success in a way is like, how much time can I devote to my family that I'm happy with? How many leaders that I'm growing in my business? Am I happy with it? Am I helping everyone fulfill their goals in my business? Am I happy with it? Am I not happy with it? What does the future look like? Am I still going to be in real estate 5 years' time? I don't know. But my definition of success is like, do I have options in life? Am I happy in life? Where does that lead me to? So I think it's like you can define success in different ways, but it has to keep changing every 3 to 6 months. It cannot be static as well. So I want to lead a great team, whatever I'm doing, I want to make sure they reach their goals. I want to have time for my family, my friends. I don't want to be like 18-hour days in work that I used to. That could have been my definition of success 2 years ago, that I'm so motivated, I'm working 18-hour days. Now I've got a great leadership bench that I don't need to. So it changes over time, It's not just about money. Like if you do all the things right, money takes care of itself. But, it has to evolve. That's literally what has to happen with your definition of success.
Just going back to the leadership point for a moment, what are some practical tips that someone can implement right now in order to become a better leader?
I think the best thing you can do is understand your team. That leaders sometimes come in and say, this is what we're doing, guys. This is the way we're going to do business. It does not work. Everyone's different. Everyone's differently wired. It's almost like what I said at the start, like it's a business within a business, even if it's a property manager or admin or a videographer, whatever it is, they're running their own business within a business. Like you have to understand them. So one of the things I say to my leaders, like, are you meeting them enough? Are you understanding their challenges? Leadership is not just about defining a business goal for the office or the team or the studio or your business. It's like, does that person inside the business have a business plan or life plan or goal or where they're going? So let's get back to understanding what they want to do, because you don't want to sit in a business and like you're managing someone after you, they say, oh yeah, no, I've been thinking about this for a while. If someone says to you, I've been thinking about this for a while, you've failed, because you should be known, you should be involved in that thinking. Yes, this job's not for me. So what else can we do for you? How can we help you grow into something else? Is there something that we need to pay for, something we need to train you for? Is there someone we need to transition you out of this role to something else? So if someone says, I've been thinking about this for a while, you're done. So what are you doing to lead your people? That's the best thing, the change that's happened with me in a while. It's just I'm trying to understand that better and better. And that's the best tip I can give to other leaders. Try to understand your people.
What was your favorite moment in business in terms of getting to 6, 7, or 8 figures?
Oh, my favorite moment. I don't know if I have one single favorite moment, but I think when I opened my first real estate agency, that was like pretty cool. I went through a lot of challenges with my past employer. But when I opened the doors and there's like 6, 7, 8 people, I think like in 2 weeks we had like 11 new staff members. You know what? And I didn't even call like 6, 7 of them. They just wanted to join. To know that people want to follow you, that was very humbling and very exciting. And it's probably like, it's the moment that I realized, oh, this could actually work. It's like, when you're running a marathon, you run the marathon. So opening a business is like running the marathon, but what have you done before it? So when you're opening a business, when you're an entrepreneur, it's the work that you've done before it that really counts. And I think that when I opened my first business, I realized that like, okay, this actually fucking worked. Like people want to follow you. People want to work for you. It's because of the way you've displayed things, the way you've carried yourself, the way you've been aggressive with your competitors, but been firm, but fair as well. So that was probably my favorite moment of when I opened. We took over like a hairdresser studio. It was 2 shops and we took it over. And for 1 month, the work that we did to transform that to a real estate agency was insane. Like literally everywhere we looked was a piece of hair, So all that hard work, and we're like, oh my God, is this ever going to happen? All that hard work to open the doors and then get people just flowing in, and great people at that. Like we had some great people join us. That was a really exciting moment for me. And I'm like, look, maybe we can actually make this work,
What does it take to build an 8-figure business portfolio?
Patience. Takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of guts and courage, takes a lot of biting your tongue with people. You're always going to be blamed for everything. People don't understand the concept of man in the mirror sometimes. You have to look in the mirror saying, is it me? I have this saying at work when I come in, I have a problem with Jim, Jacob, Jenny, John. I know I'm the problem. I'll go outside and have a walk or listen to some music or make a couple of good news phone calls. But if I have a problem with you when I come into work, I know that there's something needs to be sorted out straight away between us. So you need to like be very cognizant of what actually the issues are. Be patient with yourself, willing to lead, not willing to take credit for everything, willing to grow your team, willing to take the punches. Things will go wrong. You're saying, "Yep, cool, I fucked up." Just be open in saying that. People love the honesty, saying, "Shit, I could have done this better." Yeah, have that moment of, like, I could have done this better. There's nothing wrong with failing. This is what entrepreneurs get wrong sometimes, like if you haven't failed, you're doing something wrong. Honestly, you have to fail so much. I say to my team, like, every mistake in business costs you money. Let's make mistakes, but let's not do the same mistakes again. You have to be in the arena. So if entrepreneurs out there listening, you have to be in the arena. You can't be in the bleachers. Taylor Swift's in the bleachers. You have to be the Russell Crowe, right, in the arena. So don't sit back and say, "Oh, I'll play it safe. I'll let it go. I'll sit this out. I'll try again." Just go, have a go. You're not going to know till you have a go. If you get it wrong, you get it wrong. At least you tried. You're better for the next experience. So we've lost a lot of money trying things. But would we have made money if we didn't try those things? Probably not. People always tell me, "Oh, why'd you do this?" Like lately, someone said to me, "Oh, why did you hire your friends in this?" I'm like, "And it worked, didn't it?" Like, why do you hire people you know? I'm like, would you rather hire people you don't know? So you're going to get a lot of this criticism. We spoke about this earlier. People are going to criticize you. People are going to hate you. Who cares? We don't call them haters. We call them confused admirers. They want to be where we are.
Yeah.
They're just confused. Yeah. They can't do it because they don't have the balls. They don't have the guts.
That's it.
They don't want to take the risks. They're playing it safe out there. So take the risks, understand your team, make mistakes. Who cares? You're going to lose a lot of money. You gotta understand before you even open a business, I'm going to lose money here. If you're not prepared to have that conversation with yourself, don't do it. That's what I always say. Like, nothing makes money straight away. Like, we've got so many businesses. 2 of them weren't profitable, but they will be. It takes time, it takes energy. Like, I have so much respect at the moment for the hospitality people, cafe owners, restaurants owners. They sometimes buy themselves a job, but they have this dream. And the ones that make it, that stick with the dream, that's probably one of the hardest fields I've seen, because sometimes they just stick there paying the ATO, paying the rent. It's hard, right? But the good ones make it through because they believe in themselves. They know that they're going to lose money. How much money are you prepared to lose when you open a business? That's the question you should ask yourself. Sorry, I kind of went off tangent, but it's so crucial to know that, it's not always a winner. You can make it a winner.
Absolutely. And you're going to pay either in time or money. So which one are you willing to use in order to get what you're trying to get, right? And I love what you said, because that's something that I've been drilling on the culture of our company. That is that I don't care about you guys making mistakes. I expect us making mistakes. If we're not making mistakes, we're not moving fast enough. Because speed is everything in business, and that's our biggest advantage as well as this size of the company, is that we can move 10 times faster than other companies, and our ability to move fast will determine how quickly we can go through the learning process and iteration in order to improve things and get to where we're trying to go. So I expect the mistakes, but I also don't want us to be repeating the same mistakes. That's the biggest thing. I don't care what mistake you make. I go and reflect. Did we train you properly? Do we have an SOP? Do we have a process or coaching or mentorship or training around this specific mistake? If not, how can we create as quickly as possible? Do we have the person that is capable of solving this specific issue as well? And how quickly can we solve it? And then how do we prevent that from happening again? So I love what you just said. What does it take? What does it take from going from 7 to 8 figures?
Oh, 7 to 8 figures. Look, When you think about it, right? When we talk in real estate terms for market share, right? That's the main KPI metrics that we measure. Is an agent doing well? Do they have market share? When you think about market share, 0 to 10% is so hard to get yourself out there from 0 to say 10% of the market, 10% of the homes are sold by you. It's so difficult. 10 to 20% becomes easier, right? Because people start to know you, see your face around, you're in bus stops, you're in flyers, you're in the local cafe, you're on, people are calling on your behalf. 20 to 30% is a breeze. It's a breeze, because you get saturation of the market, right? People start to know really who you are. They go on realestate.com, they see you everywhere. Like literally a third of your listings a third of the market is yours. And the same thing, same concept sort of applies in business as well. When you get to that place where you're 7 figures, you sit down and you say to yourself, what does my growth look like, right? And a lot of people in business, they're so obsessed with profit margin, so obsessed. That's the question I'll get asked everywhere. What's your profit margin? I'm gonna look at them like, okay, cool question, dude. Right? Profit margin is not everything. What's your appetite for growth that you have to ask yourself? How we're talking about, your first million is 3 years, your next million is the 4th year. How much of the profit margin are you willing to sacrifice to achieve growth? How much of that profit is devoted to growth resources? Some of these companies, I keep going to Amazon, they didn't make money at all. Not at all. He was being mocked by David Letterman on a show one night saying, so how much money you make? You're making this much loss, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So when you get to 7 figures, when you start making a little bit of money, you just say to yourself, how quickly can I get to that 8? What am I willing to invest back in the company? Because you've done all the hard yards, right? The first year you lost money, you're putting money in and you're like, okay, I'm going to see the income coming through. Then you actually go through that step again, probably 2-3 years down the line. Oh, I've actually got money now to live. I can buy something. I can buy a house. I can buy a car, whatever it is. Then you go through the same realization. Hey, hang on. I'm in the same process now that I was 3-4 years ago. What do I do now? Am I going to sit there and be happy with what I have, or I'm going to try growing again? The thing that you need to realize, and entrepreneurs sometimes make this mistake because they're comfortable now, right? They're making money. If you're not growing, you're dying. You're dying, literally, because your staff will leave, your clients will leave. It happens to all of us. What can I do to invest back in growth? So the quicker you invest back in growth again at that stage where it's like your 6-figure or 7-figure, whatever you're in, the sooner you get to the next stage. So you got to sit down with your accountant, with yourself, say, fuck this. I can live on this again. I can live on 60K, 80K, whatever it is. Say everything's going back in the business again. I'm so confident. I'm going to go supercharge it. I'm going to saturate the market with a dentist, a finance broker, or, a media house, whatever it is. Let's go. There's more money back into growth. And so, you have this uncomfortable chat with your accountant. They'll be like, Avi, you're fucking crazy. Just take the money. I'm like, no, let's go grow again. Who cares, you got to be comfortable where you are, but you're going to say, let's go back. So my challenge to all the entrepreneurs is, can you go through that cycle again in 3-4 years? Some of them will say no. Some are like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go invest back into growth. So I don't look at profit margin as such. I look at growth potential in the later on. I look at the asset value in later on. What are you prepared to sacrifice again? You go on that journey again. It's albeit it's a better journey because you got great people around you now as opposed to what you had in the first year. But let's go again. So it comes down to the person, how much more are you willing to sacrifice? It's another uncomfortable conversation.
That is a really good question to ask yourself. What are you willing to compromise for growth? Because as you said the world is spinning around, right? Nothing's stopping. Time is not waiting for anyone. And if you think that you can just simply put on the handbrake and just chill where you currently are, you're absolutely wrong. I made that mistake at some point as well, where you just thought we got to this place, let's just chill here, and you start realizing that nothing else is stopping. And your competitors also, the good competitors, will be able to smell the blood in the water. We'll be able to smell these guys are slowing down. They can't keep up. They're just chilling, and they will seize that moment and that opportunity to take over. That's how we see it. I don't want to stay stagnant. I'm ready for growth. I'm ready to reinvest. I don't care. I can lose it all over again. And I know exactly how to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And you obviously have to be more careful because you have people that are now counting on you and relying on you to win. But you also, in a long enough time frame, you build the attributes, the skills, and the confidence in yourself that you can pull this thing off. And also, the competition is asleep right now.
Yeah.
Competition is as low as it has ever been across all markets because people are not willing to do what it takes and pay the price to get to 7-8 figures and beyond. So that's really exciting. As an 8-figure entrepreneur, how are you currently building wealth?
For myself or the team?
For yourself.
It's a very interesting question. So you have to look at your asset classes. What do you own, right? So is a property your vehicle? Great. Is a business your vehicle? Great. What's your vehicle? Like what do you want your vehicle to be? Everyone is so different, right? So before I started real estate, it's all about buying real estate. It's weird, right? Now when I started real estate, it's like all about investing in businesses. I've gone through the cycle of thinking differently, Property is the best avenue for growth if you're buying it, but it won't give you the super growth that businesses will if you run it properly. So it's always like, oh my God, property is doing great, grand property, do this. But you need a balanced strategy, who you are, what makes you tick, We've got a lot of our equities in our rent roll. So we manage about 2,700 properties across Brisbane. So it's one of the larger portfolios. So we're very happy with that. That's growing well. Obviously, I have some properties around. I never quote how much. People try to look me up, but no one can find me because Avi's not my real name. So they always say, oh my God, you don't own any properties. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. It's cool to have fun with people. But property's definitely been something that I was very passionate about early on, even before real estate. So I still continue that journey. But I invest a lot back into my businesses and my other businesses. I've got a couple of developments that I want to do. I've bought a couple of blocks that I can develop later on. It's just, where does your time best suit you? Where do you want to go with time? So everyone's got different strategies, but I'm very much balanced. I go through this phase where 1 year I'm just doing business acquisitions. Next year I'm buying properties. What works for you? What works for your family? What works for your time? There's no right answer out there, right? I tried crypto. I didn't do too well, so I got out of it straight away. I just didn't understand it. Each to their own. Some people are doing really well. Some of my friends are doing really well, but I was just like, I asked some questions and they couldn't answer it. Like, so how many crypto Bitcoins were there when they started off? Oh, we don't know. So who owns it? Oh, we don't know. So when you mine it, can you mine your own? Oh, we don't know. Mining is just, transferring. I'm like, Osco does this overnight, So like, I try to get into things that, no disrespect to crypto, people doing great. But for me, I just don't know it well enough for me to make it my vehicle. So I know real estate well enough. It's my vehicle. I know how to run businesses now. That's my vehicle. I know how to do developments. That's my vehicle. And I'm looking for people to join venture on things. That's my vehicle. So just what works for you out there,
What's the most amount of money you have lost in one single year?
I don't know. Too many people are listening to this. What's the most amount of money I've lost in a single year? In a business or real estate transaction or?
Across the board.
Probably 200-300K a year. Sometimes I've lost on things. And my accountant calls me, gets angry, but you can always write it off. I made an investment in a company and it was only like a $50,000 investment. I would say only, but it was significant. And that was probably 50K. Sounds like a lot of money, but the most thing I lost on that investment was my time and energy because hand on heart, I didn't do due diligence properly on the ownership structure of the company, and 10 of my friends invested as well. So we have a lot of these little, from your super or something, have a stab at something, let's see how it goes. So I've done a few of those things, and this one actually, it was more my time. The company didn't do too well. It's recently been sold, and I'll probably get $10,000 back on my shares. So, you lose 40K, you can write it off, but it was more my time and energy that sucked it up, and I was a little bit negative towards it. But on the flip side, you look at it and you're like, how many people did I meet? I met some really great entrepreneurs, not just how much money they've invested, but their experiences and things. And like I got 4 or 5 listing referrals from that group. So it made its way back the money wise, but it's about more time and energy, and your negative mindset creeps in, and then you like look at the next opportunity a little bit different, and you're like, oh, am I just letting this opportunity, this going bad, blighting the next one? So that was probably my worst one. Even though it's 50K, it took me a bit of time to get over and get past it, and the conversation around it got so negative. And it got so bitter, back and forth between the investors and the other owners. And I'm like, just need to get out of this space because it just wasn't good for me. But then I'm like, let's have another stab at something else.
Yeah, exactly. Risk. If there's no risk, there's no big reward.
100%.
Absolutely. And as you said, it's very difficult to get on the other side once you start valuing more your time than money.
Yeah.
Because that's how you see it. It's not about the 40K that you're losing. It's all the time that got lost that there's no way to get back.
There's no way to get the time back. That's more valuable than 30, 40, 50K. I mean, it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but when you lose time in your mental state on fighting the negative, it's a downward spiral.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Opposite to that, what's the most amount of money you have made in a single year?
You're really getting the questions out. People are going to judge me for that. Look, there's been some really good years. I'm not going to lie, there's been some really good years. So do I have to admit this on a podcast? No, so any year that's a 7-figure year, it's a good year in terms of profitability. But like I said, like it's like for me, it's more the capital growth of what I own. That's better for me. If I have great capital growth that year and a low profit, then I'm not worried. It's just building for the future. And are my investments going well? Like I publicize some of it I don't publicize. Some things you got to keep secret, keep people guessing. But yeah, no, any 7-figure plus year, it's a good year. But it's more about the growth of what I own. That's more rewarding for me, because like you have to have an exit plan. The more equity you have in any business, the more you can borrow. That's one thing it's been a sharp lesson for me in my career. I was very much, I'm not going to borrow. I'm not going to borrow. And then someone changed my mind. And I was like, okay. And since then, I haven't stopped borrowing. I think I call Macquarie Bank every week about something. But yeah, I had this thing that I'm not going to borrow. I'm going to just do it on my own. I don't know why I had that mindset, but it really helped me back in my career.
What made you change your mind about borrowing money from the banks?
I flew to Canberra. So I do this thing. I do a lot of study tours. So I reach out to people and say, hey, I've noticed what you're doing, whether it's real estate or other things. I've noticed what you're doing. I just really admire you from afar. And they're like, okay, there's just this weird thing. Okay. Like he's a bit of a weirdo. I'm like, I'd love to come and have a coffee with you and just pick your brain, because, I think that I can really learn off you. And then they have this realization, the most successful people never say no. Like, oh, call me back in 2 weeks, or call me back, or talk to my admin or something, like talk to my PA, we'll make a time. So I'm always like, I just reach out to people and saying, hey, notice what you're doing. Can I have a chat? Can I come and see you? If it's Canberra, New Zealand, I don't care. I'll fly there. So I've really honed down on probably 10 people in my industry that I've really admired and respected from afar. And now some of them are really close friends of mine because I've spent so much time just running things by them. And you win mutual respect along the way. So I went to see this guy. I won't name him, but he sort of offended me at the meet, and it was good offensive. It wasn't bad. He's like, tell me what you own. And I was telling him. And then he said to me, so how much debt do you have? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, all these things, how much debt do you have? I'm like, nothing. And he's like, what? What do you mean? Like, do you have any debt? I'm like, I don't have a credit card, nothing. It's just my car and my house is like, apart from that, everything's like good. And he goes, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, so you're sitting on about 10 houses paid off in a way, and you're not willing to buy another house. He just put it in layman's terms for me. And I'm like, oh. He's like, mate, debt, embrace it. Good debt is the best thing you can have. Embrace it now. You're just crazy. You're stupid. Like, he was pretty much putting me down in a nice way. I wasn't offended at all, but I'm just like thinking to myself, wow, this is crazy. Like, what the fuck have I been doing with my life? Because I've always seen people that borrow so much, that's why they go down. Like, they borrow so much they can't service it. So I'm like, oh, shit. He's like, you got to talk to Macquarie. I'm like, okay. like I'll go talk to them. And that was probably 3.5 years ago. That changed my mindset on business. It's just that one conversation. And now I'm like, I call the bank like, hey, what can I borrow? What's my limit? And they're like, okay. And now we've got a hunting fund. So they're giving us a hunting fund. This is what you can borrow. Just go buy it and we'll approve it. So use debt very wisely. See, most people that we don't realize, like the best entrepreneurs, they only own 10% of everything they own. Like literally, I didn't even realize this. Like I've been stupid all along, So it was a big realization for me is like, if I can leverage it somehow and do better, I will. And now we're leveraging better and better. Now we're not even buying in real estate anymore. We're buying other things that we don't put it out there. But what can we do to grow our ecosystem, things that are aligned to what we do? So that's when I started borrowing. And it's kind of addiction now.
That's a good kick in the ass for me because I also have zero debt.
There you go.
So that's a good kick in the ass. You're saying all of that. I'm like,
so I'll give you Macquarie's number after this. But they've been really good. You know, like there's different banks. It's like which relationship you can form with different people. And they don't just go on your opportunity, they go on the person as well. It's been a good journey since then that we've been able to buy things, grow capital growth and, increase our income capability as well. And then we know when we sell it, someone will buy it anyway. So there's one company that we bought, I think 3 years ago. And now it's triple its size. So in over 3 years, it's tripled in value. So we've more than paid it off, and so we're making these bets on things that we see, and sometimes we get something wrong, but we recover. But it's been good. So to reach out to people that are doing well in any industry saying, hey, can I just have a coffee with you? You'll be surprised how many people say yes. Don't send them a LinkedIn message because that's annoying as fuck. Just pick up the phone,
Absolutely. This section is called This or That. So you just have to choose this or that.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this sounds dangerous.
Tea or coffee?
Oh, definitely coffee. Definitely coffee.
Sushi or steak?
Oh, steak. I'm a big steak guy at the moment, but, sushi is good.
Value or entertainment content?
This has to be a choice. If you can provide value in an entertaining way, that'd be good. But I would say value. Yeah.
Expert or jack of all trades?
Expert. Definitely expert.
CEO or founder?
Wow. Founder. Let's go founder.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Instagram or YouTube?
Instagram.
Photos or videos?
Videos.
Short form or long form video content?
Short form.
Newsletters or podcasting?
Podcasting.
Organic or paid marketing?
Organic.
Building a talent or hiring a talent?
Building a talent.
A talent at a high price tag or multiple cheap C talent?
Can I explain this or I can't? It's a rapid fire. Multiple cheap because then I love building. I love building people.
Property investing or shares?
Property investing because that's what I know.
Commercial or residential property?
Oh, this is hard because I love resi, but recently I've gone towards commercial. But yeah, resi at the moment, I would say. Yeah.
Property investing or crypto?
Property investing. Crypto because I don't understand it.
Property investing or acquiring businesses?
Oh, goodness. This is a very, very hard question. Like, that's probably the hardest question I've had. Acquiring. Let's go acquiring.
Building a business or buying a business?
I'm more leaning towards buying nowadays because I think I've built enough. No disrespect to anyone building out there. The journey is hard. It's fun, exhilarating as it is. After building so many, buying and changing and editing is what we do now.
Passion, 6-figure business or stressful 8-figure business?
Wow. Let's go stressful. What's life without stress?
Sales or marketing?
Marketing.
Final question and the most important question.
Yeah.
Rolex Datejust or Submariner?
Datejust.
What are the three things that you will tell your 30-year-old self about building a successful 8-figure business as fast as humanly possible?
Take more risks. Fuck the haters. Just take more risk. Who cares if you fail? Fuck them. Just do it. Take more risk. If you don't take risks, you won't get anywhere. Have more debt. Who cares about debt? As long as it's good debt, just make it happen. I got too caught up in not having debt. So the more debt you have, the more you can fund things. Do it properly. Just don't go get credit cards. But, I would say to myself, just go borrow. If you believe in something, borrow. Take more risk, borrow. And the other thing I'll say, just better articulate your vision to your people. I would tell myself, probably I was guilty of not doing that too well in the start, but now I am. I think the better you can articulate your vision to your people, your staff, your leaders, your partners, the better things will be. People will know where you're going, what you want. So that's something that I've learned the hard way, because sometimes you don't want to be too transparent, but I think transparency is a good thing. So, and we believe that we can execute better. So just be open and honest with your people. Get more debt, take more risks, and articulate your vision better.
What's the worst piece of advice you have ever received?
So I think that people give you advice. It's not just worst piece, but it's in general. People give advice based on their limits, not yours. So audit your advice. So I've always got advice from people sometimes that they believe they can't do it, so they try to put that on you. So we spoke about this earlier on the podcast. Audit your advice, audit your circle, because people have told me, don't buy this, don't buy that. And I've gone and bought it and it's gone well. So don't define yourself based on other people's limits. Define yourself on what you can actually go and achieve out there. So I probably defined a little bit on other people's limits because they thought they couldn't do it. So just fuck it, just do it. Just get in the arena, as we say. Don't be in the bleachers, get in the arena.
What's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Get into debt. Leverage yourself better. That's the best advice I've got in business. I know it seems simplistic, but sometimes you need someone to get through to your mind. Everyone will say things. I always say to my people, I'll teach them, I'll train them, I'll coach them. Someone else from the outside will come and say the same thing. They'll be like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Why didn't we do this? And the same thing was happening to me. People were telling me these things, but you meet someone good who's been there, done that, and they tell you, hey, Avi, you're fucked. Go borrow more. Go leverage yourself more. And that's probably the best advice I've got. And then I've used that to leverage myself more, build better businesses, have more capital, have more equity. And that's worked out really well for us.
Avi, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. I have even so many more questions that I wanted to ask you, but we're going to have to do a round two. Where can people find you, your companies, and get in touch with you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I love Instagram, Avi Khan, AVIKHAN. We've got Ray White AKG across Brisbane South. So if you need any real estate help, experience guidance, let us know. Even if you're just buying, not through us, we're happy to help you. We've got a tattoo shop in Logan. So if you need any tats, reach out. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much. You've got a great studio, and should be proud of what you guys have all achieved.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, all I ask is that you subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know that what was your biggest takeaway of this. And this is the best way for us to continue to get incredible guests such as Avi. Is just support the podcast and share it with anyone that you could think can get value out of this episode. I'll see you on the next one. You can find all the links down below. Good vibes for everyone.
See you guys.
Hey legends, my goal with Founders Playbook is to help 1 million entrepreneurs build successful personal brands and businesses so that they can increase their impact and profits. You can support the mission by simply sharing the podcast with other founders and entrepreneurs. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on social media. Let's get to work.